Hey everybody. So, have you ever used a legendary item that sounds insanely powerful, but then you use it and you're like, wait, is it actually doing anything? Because that's exactly where most players land with the samurai bracers in Legends. Now, the idea behind it sounds pretty incredible because it's a defensive item that punishes enemies and it lets you break them faster than almost anything else in the game. But in reality, it is one of the most misunderstood, most debated, and honestly most dropped legendaries in the current meta. So, in this video, we're breaking down what the samurai braces actually do, why players are confused about them, the hidden synergy that makes them strong, and why a lot of top players are dropping them entirely. Let's start with the exact effect. Basically, you deal a major amount of stagger damage to enemies when parrying their attack, and it stacks with the samurai perk called parry damage, which is basically the same. So it's like doubling that perk. That's it. There's no hidden text, there's no extra bonuses. So, what does that actually mean? Now, every time you successfully parry an enemy attack, you deal a large chunk of stagger damage. No health damage, no bonus DPS, just stagger. And if you understand the combat system, you already know that stagger is pretty important because once an enemy's guard breaks, they're completely vulnerable, they stop attacking, and you can unload heavy damage safely. So the bracers aren't about direct damage, they're about creating damage windows. Now, here is the part where almost everyone gets stripped up, and it all comes down to one misleading phrase. And then, if you look at the legendary power, it says that it stacks with parry damage, with the parry damage perk. And at first glance, that sounds straightforward. But in practice, it caused a ton of confusion across the community. Because here's the core issue there is something referred to as parry damage, which is the samurai perk in the samurai tree. But it is an actual game function that is completely misunderstood. The description to this perk is deal a major amount of stagger damage to enemies when parrying their attacks. Now, if you notice what's missing, it is any mention of health damage. So when players saw the term parry damage, they assumed that it scaled with melee damage or with counter damage or any stat that increased actual DPS. So naturally, people started optimizing builds like that, rolling damage stats on swords and charms, expecting bigger numbers. But the reality is that it doesn't work like that. This perk and this legendary in general deals zero health damage. Instead, it exclusively targets the enemy's white stagger bar. That's the little bar that's on top of their red health bar. It also targets their posture and their guard meter. That's it. So early on, a lot of players thought that the item was bugged, that the scaling was broken, or that the perk just wasn't working because no matter how much damage they stacked, the parries weren't hitting harder in terms of HP. And that's because they were never supposed to. Once you understand this, everything kind of clicks because the samurai bracers add a large burst of stagger damage on parry. You stack that with other parry based stagger effects and you help break enemies faster, not kill them directly. So the real value isn't do more damage, it's create openings faster so you can do damage. At its core, the samurai bracers turn your playstyle into this. You wait, you parry, you break, you deal damage instead of attack pressure burst, which is basically you're shifting from an aggressive samurai to a reactive counter fighter. And when it works, it is extremely satisfying because you parry one attack and suddenly the enemy stagger bar completely chunks down. They're one hit away from breaking and you completely control the fight. But here's the catch it only works if you're consistently landing parries, if you understand enemy timing, if you're not getting overwhelmed, if your teammates are not just causing chaos, hitting everything that they can. So Otherwise, the entire build that you have around this legendary falls apart. Now, another big issue that players bring up is that to fully optimize a stagger focus build, you often need to juggle multiple weapons. We're talking katana, odashi, yari, kusarigana, each with different perks, rolls, stagger interactions, because to optimize staggers, you need to optimize weapon alignment. So if you're trying to roll the right perks, maintain synergy, optimize parry bonuses, it can become kind of tedious. A lot of players say that instead of focusing on gameplay, they're managing their loadouts and managing switching weapons, and that friction alone has pushed a lot of people away from the bracers. Now, even if the samurai bracers are strong and if you use them in the right build, etc., they are no longer the preferred choice at high level for samurai because of the changes added in patch 1.6. After the balance changes, focus attacks got stronger, aggressive playstyles became more rewarding, ultimate generation became faster with offense. So this led to a new favorite, which is Samurai's Honor. Now, instead of relying on parries, players are now spamming heavy attacks, building stagger through aggression, charging their ultimate faster. So the trade off becomes that while if you use samurai bracers, you can have a high skill, defensive, situational type of build. With Samurai's Honor, you can have a consistent, aggressive, faster build, not to mention that you have an extra legendary slot. So for most high level players, this option is just better. So where do samurai bracers actually land? I mean, they are strong, they are depending on synergy, they are depending on skill, but they are also confusing. They rely heavily on your build, on your setup, and they are outpaced by other builds. So if you love precision, if you love timing, if you love counter-based gameplay, these are incredibly rewarding. But if you prefer more aggressive play style, if you prefer killing enemies fast, if you prefer honestly a simpler build, you're probably better off skipping this legendary. At the end of the day, samurai bracers aren't bad, they're just not built for how most people play the game anymore. And that's why they feel so hit or miss. And that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy my content and you want to support the channel, there are a few ways that you can help out. First, drop a like on the video and share it with your friends, family, or anyone you think would enjoy it. It really helps the channel grow. Second, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so that you never miss a future video. And third, if you would like to support me directly, you can do so at allbashgaming.com. In there, you can buy me a coffee, and now you can also rep the channel with your own merch. You can grab your Loot Goblin t-shirt or the classic It's Not a Glitch, It's a Tech t-shirt over on my shop. All the links you need are in the description. Thank you again for watching. I appreciate every single one of you. See you in the next one.